All right, here's my video guide for lesson 531. What triangle tools do I still need? And so the idea here is what tools, it's a reflection of what tools do I have to solve for triangles. We've talked about in chapter 5, sine, cosine, tangent. We have talked about inverse sine, inverse cosine, inverse tangent. We have the 30, 60, 90 rule. We have the 45, 45, 90 rule, and we have our Pythagorean triples. Now you can read this and you can see, okay, when do you have enough information to find all the angle measurements and all of the side lengths? Well, we know with a right triangle, many of our tools are right triangle tools. Sine, cosine, tangent can help me find missing sides. Inverse sine, inverse cosine, inverse tangent can help me find missing angles. 30, 60, 90 rules help me find sides, and Pythagorean triples help me find sides. So we're going to try to evaluate. We're going to use this whole lesson to kind of reflect on, okay, can I solve any triangle with the tools I have, or are there triangles tools that I still need to know? Okay, so just kind of looking over this, the first thing is how many ways can three pieces of information be given about a triangle? So their example is that the three given measurements could be one angle and two side lengths. We want to list every combination. So another combination could be they give you three angles. Another combination could be three sides. You could have two sides and one angle. You could have, and you can just list all the different variations here that you can think of. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to kind of take your list of different triangles and different variations of three pieces of information. We're going to start evaluating, can we solve these triangles with three pieces of information? So you can see here, the most important thing is the task. We need to find the missing angles and sides of each triangle on the following slides. Notice that each triangle is going to have three pieces of given information, like we were listing in the previous slide. And then we want to see, okay, if we can solve these triangles for all the sides, all the angles, let's do it. If not, let's explain why we cannot do it, explain why we don't have the tools to do it. Okay? Couple of discussion points as you go into the lesson. Okay? Any triangles look familiar to you? Anything that you might have a strategy for, make sure you're thinking about that or writing that down. What tools do we have to solve? We really want to come up with a list of our tools and which triangles are working. And then this last one kind of plays into later in the lesson of, can it be helpful to divide a triangle into two right triangles, which we actually saw a little bit of. So you're going to see it's 13 slides, but majority of the slides are going to be 572, and it's going to be different variations, different three pieces of information. So the first one is they give you three sides. Okay, do we have enough information here to solve for all three angles? And I'm going to give you this first one because some people might write down, yeah, we could use inverse trigonometry here to solve for each of these missing angles. Well, the thing is we can't use inverse trigonometry unless it's a right angle, unless we know it has at least one right angle in it. Well, we don't know that this is a right angle, so we actually don't have the tools for the triangle like this to solve for any of the missing angles. So you go on to the next one, and now you're given two sides and one right angle. And so you're giving a side that's 4, a side that's 5, and a right angle. Do we have the tools to solve for the missing side and the missing angles of this triangle? If we do, then you solve for them and write them in the box or write them in the text box here. Okay, keep moving, you'll see it just keeps giving you different examples. Here's an example of you give two sides and one non-right angle between them. So again, we don't know any of these are right angles. We do know the two sides and that this is 60. Do we have enough tools? Do we have the tools to solve for the missing side and the remaining angles? Keep going. All right, you have two sides, one not right angle, and this time the angle is not between them. So these are different. The angle here was between the sides. Here the angle was not between the sides. Do we have the tools for this one? Do we have the tools here? This one may look familiar. Write down why it looks familiar. And then do you have the tools to solve for the missing angles and missing sides? Here, do you have the tools to solve for the missing angles and the missing sides? You're given two non-right angles and one side that's not between them. Same thing as we keep going here. And then the last one of this bunch is when they're giving you three angles. And do we have the tools from here? Okay. We then get into one problem that expands on 72 a little bit, changing this diagram so that you actually end up with a right triangle or two right triangles like it kind of stated in the beginning. And then if you change this into two right triangles, do you have the information then to solve it? Okay, and then does this method work of splitting it? Does it work for any other triangle in your previous list before here. Does it work for any other slide? And if it does, you can say yes, it works for the, you could say yes, it works for the triangle in slide number 7. It works for the triangle in slide number 8, or whatever it may be. Okay. Lastly is a learning log, and this one I just want you to take kind of seriously, because I want you to reflect on, okay, these are the triangles I had the tools for. These were the triangles I didn't have the tools for. Find some comparisons between those. Find some patterns like, okay, these ones seem to be the ones that work. These ones seem to be the ones that do not work. And then just keep that reflection going and being like, wow, there is still a lot that I need tools for. There's still a lot of information to solve for these triangles that I may not know how to solve for. And it's just a nice reflection, because we're going to build into that in our next lesson, or actually next couple of lessons. As always, if you have questions throughout the lesson, if you're confused by a problem or a slide, always reach out to me through email. I'll try to get back to you as quick as possible and try to maybe, clear up that confusion.